And then as we go along, some of the things we do in Christmas, how Christmassy it is. So let's look at the origin of Christmas, since we are gearing towards that. And if I should tell you the shocking story, well, one, what do we celebrate in Christmas? What they have told us. From young, we were told it's the birth of Christ. Line number one. So they tell us we are celebrating the birth of Christ, which is a lie. Of course, we know Christ is not born around this time. There is no documented evidence of his birth. There is no documented evidence that he celebrated his birthday or wanted it to be celebrated. But the Christmas we celebrate, the day we choose, it's a day rooted in paganism, okay? Rooted in who don't know God, who don't believe in a God, who hate God. They celebrate this day. And the Catholic Church in Rome began celebrating 326, somewhere around there, to replace that pagan celebration. I was told that when I was in the Catholic Church, okay? I think it's after that time we went to Mount St. Benedict. It had to be at that time we were Christian, so you see. He said, well, no, we can't get the church. Anyway, but because of the tradition and people were so steeped in as a Catholic, Catholic priest, telling us that, and that was there, and nothing more was done. But, so I have his backing as well. We also have the scriptural backing and the traditions. If we study and look at some of the traditions, we will see there was a time in Rome who was the Pope and who was the emperor. It's switched because the emperor. So the Romans celebrated 2 holidays in December. So we do some history, right? Yeah, that's the where we're going. So we do some groundwork. And Saturnalia, a 2-week festival for the god. Saturn, I told you, Saturn was a day. It's one of the gods. That's the name of star or a planet. It's a god. The planet was named after that god, Saturn. We have Saturday. And the birth of Mithra, their sun god, as I told you back in the celebration, a main god that was worshipped in ancient time. Okay? In the old world or in the Bible time, Rome, Greece, every nation celebrates the sun and see the sun as a god because it kept them warm, because it gave light, because they couldn't understand the sun. And up to today, we still worship the sun. Some of us don't even know we worship the sun. The sun symbols are still given to us. And the reason why, because there are worshippers of the sun god, who still exist today in paganism, and they have brought it to light in us. We buy things with the sun god, we have things some of that as well. So the sun, and so the birth of the sun god on December 25th. Now this was before Christ, eh? I want to know, before Jesus was even thinking about coming to earth, they worship on December 25th the sun god. So it was a pagan culture. They also lit bonfires and candles in December to fight the darkness. Now, we don't live in that part of the world where it is extremely dark. We get light here. We lose 2 hours of light for the most. I know by 6 o'clock we say dark. They didn't know that. They were in the dark. So, also, the goddess or Tammuz, a god, and we will look at Tammuz as well, because it's also a month in the Hebrew calendar, 10th month of their civil year, and the 4th month in their church year, right? So Tammuz was also associated with the pagan festival of Saturnalia, or Christmas. And they celebrated the birth of the unconquered sun. So they celebrated the birth of the sun. You know why? Because the sun came out on that day. They got light. And to them, they believe that December 25th was chosen to baptize their festival. Because up comes the sun, here life can go on again, we're going to get light, we're going to get warmth, our agriculture crop will be very, very successful. It's the birth of a new year for them. So they celebrated the sun. Here comes the sun. S-U-N, not S-O-N. Tammuz is also considered the reincarnate of Nimrod. Is Nimrod reincarnate? Nimrod come back to life. If you don't know about Nimrod, you will see Nimrod in the Bible as well. Genesis 10. Nimrod is known as a mighty hunter. He was the first man to oppose God after the great flood. And because he wanted to build the Tower of David, Babel, whatever you want to call it. And in that time with a cross, but a 2-beam cross. So some of you will buy earrings, chains, some symbol of that. And you see, this is a cross, but the cross has 2 bars across, 2 parallel bars. So it's 2 parallel bars. It signifies a T, and that is the symbol of Tammuz, one of the symbols, okay? So he was considered Nimrod coming back to life. What is the big deal with Nimrod? We're going to look at Nimrod as well. So Nimrod was the one who started civilization, building civilization, and building. He didn't want to repopulate, he didn't want to spread out, he wanted to build a tower to reach God. So they came together and they started to build their tower. So he's one of the main Babylonian gods, Tammuz. And as they celebrate on December 25th, now the church at that time realized they couldn't stop the paganism. The Catholic Church, you know, they were in control in those days. And I want you to know that they were steeped in paganism also. Okay? If you study the history of, I'm not here to bash the church, we just have to talk facts. The Catholic Church was noted for killing others of the saints. Maybe after today, I don't know. If you came up with a theory they didn't believe in, you had to take it down or face the wrath of the church. So they burn you as a witch, they kill you as a witch. Right? You're talking something different to us. So this deity, Tammuz, was held throughout the month of Tammuz in midsummer and they celebrated his death and resurrection. And I want you to see something. The first day of the month, Tammuz was the day of the new moon in a summer solace. And the second day of the month, we have different things. And okay, so I will skip that because we want to go into the calendar. But in the book of Ezekiel, the prophet describes a vision of a woman mourning, Tammuz, at the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord. The festival is in honor of Tammuz. It was a 6-day celebration that involved loud lamentation and weeping for Tammuz. Now, as we continue to incorporate Christmas in our calendar and in our psyche and in our celebration, as I said, the Christian church could not stop it. They couldn't stop the celebration. So they adopted the pagan ritual to celebrate the birth of Jesus. They say we go Christmas over. Instead of we say we are worshiping Tammuz, we're going to say it's Christ. And they adopted the pagan ritual to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Fully well knowing that Jesus didn't born around that time, the church concocted a lie to us. And people up to today, you can't tell them Jesus didn't born that day. You can't tell children. So children, you ask them what? We celebrated the birth of Jesus. You know, this is celebrating your birth, but 7 months after. 8 months. If Jesus was born at around March, April, around that time. There's more evidence to that time than to Christmas time. So the church knew that it's not his time, but the Bible doesn't mention the exact date of Jesus' birth. But the church adopted the 25th. Is it coincidence that the church used that day, which was already a holy day for the pagan? Could you imagine we taking Diwali Day and say we're going to celebrate the birth of Christ? What do you think about that? You think that will go well? Because we couldn't stop Diwali, so we say, okay, we're going to celebrate the birth of Christ on that day. And then it all came down to the church brought in Christmas on the day the pagans were the happiest, the gayest. This was their celebration. Guess what happens? We have just mixed in our tradition and mixing a little Christ in the will celebrate because it's their day. They had it first. The church will celebrate something that is not true, a lie, because we are celebrating the birth of Christ, which Christ didn't born that day. We start with a lie. They know what they're celebrating. You wonder why everybody celebrates Christmas? Pagan, non-pagan, Christian, non-Christian. Even in war, we fight. I want to kill you, there's have a ceasefire that day. Why? Because it's their day. It's their day. You wonder why people die from overeating on Christmas Day? It's their day. famous birthday. Not his. Why lie to the people? So, because the church was also deep in these pagan celebrations. The early fathers, they wanted to really get you to worship Timus. They wanted us, the church. So they passed on their pagan rituals to us. Up to today, we still do think the church is behind certain rituals given deep in paganism, deep in the occult. And people in church are doing it, not knowing who and what they're doing and why they are doing what they do. So, this was celebrated long time before Jesus came on the scene, as we said. The early Europeans celebrated the life and birth in the darkness, in the darkest day of winter, and extended hours of sunlight. Even if it's still cold, the sun will warm you up. They're looking towards more light. So it's light over darkness. Something like the word, what we say is light over darkness. Right? But we know who is the light of all light. We know who is the light and whose light is over darkness. In Scandinavia, the Norse celebrated Yule. You know why we get the Yuletide celebration? They celebrated Yule from December 21st, again, the winter solstice, to January, in recognition of the return of the sun. So again, it's all about worshiping a sun god. Not the son of God, but a sun god. I want us to get up there. Fathers and sons would bring home large logs which they could set on fire. The people would feast until the log burned out, which could take as many as 12 days. You see where we get our 12 days of Christmas? It's from a log that burned for 12 days. They believe that each spark from the fire represents a new pig or calf that will be born during the coming year. Remember, it's what was agriculture as well. So every spark, a new pig, a new crop, we're going to get, you know? So, we tell you, you guys see something green too. The German people honor the pagan god Odin during the mid-winter holiday. Germans were terrified by Odin. And then decide who will prosper or perish. Put us on station to observe people. So he was taking a flight and observing people, observe his people, and they then decide who he would prosper or perish. In other words, who has been wicked, who has been behaving good, or who is the guy in the big red suit, I guess, where we got it from, and later down they developed that even further to stay inside because he's passing through. They choose to stay inside. So I want us to see where we gone, where these things come from. Deep in paganism. And we, well, I say it later on, and we still flood our children's head with nonsense about Santa Claus. The biggest lie, you know, that big men in America and over the world still believe there is a Santa Claus in the North Pole. And he's like God, you know, he knows if you are good, he knows if you are bad. We should be smart enough as children to know that God was a lie. He was so foreign that he came through a chimney. And we never study how we would come in here because we don't have chimneys. Scripture says anybody that comes through any other way is a thief and a liar. And if Santa is not coming to your front door, he's a thief. He's a scam. He's a make-believe. Stop telling your children you're never more. Stop lining up in the mall for our over. And it's not all year round. So the Norse who I spoke about from Norway, from here, where you will love, they believe that the sun was a great wheel of fire that rolled towards and then out. So you see where fireplace comes into the Christmas story. You see why everything's around the fireplace. Because the wheel of fire can roll towards and then away from the earth. So the familiar or the family fireplace, especially for those who make, don't have to make fireplace now. We must like fire. And some people are actually making fireplaces. I don't know why. And it's a central part of the Christmas scene. You ever watch those foreign movies and over the fireplace they hang their stockings and they roast their marshmallows and they sit around there with hot cocoa, hot chocolate to sing some silly Christmas song. And these are traditions thousands of years that we keep modernizing and don't know why. Because we believe a lie. And it will get worse as we go on. So in those places, they have love, cheese, bread, dessert, and all sorts of things. Now, sun worship is the practice of venerating the sun as a god. So you look towards a god as a deity, as a god, and it was a common religious practice in many ancient civilizations. And I want to say it is so ancient, it still is on today. In Egypt, the sun god Ra was the highest god in Egypt. And the sun was considered a source of life, wisdom, and illumination of the mind. You see why the sun god is so important? In Egypt, if you look at Egyptian history, you will see the sun god was a major part of all their emblems, their writings on the wall. When any let me just get it right, please. You know, some of you like to shop and you go and you want to bring back some nice souvenir of where you were, where you went. Nearly everything would be attached to some kind of, don't bring nothing from Egypt, please. Because they consider this a source of life and light, wisdom, illumination of the mind. Mesopotamia had the same thing. The sun god was central to the Sumerian and the Akkadian region. The sun played an important part in their life. So we don't be cold and been dark all the time. India still have their sun god, Rome. The sun god was celebrated in the Feast of Sol Invictus, which was later adopted by Christians as Christmas. In Rome, you see where it came from? So in Rome, the sun god was celebrated in the Feast of Sol Invictus, which was later adopted by Christians as Christmas. So it didn't stop, and we still worship the sun god today. Egypt and Greece, the Egyptian, the Greek, you know, they were the world powers of that time and in their time. But the Egyptian honored Ra, the sun god. For people in ancient Egypt, the sun was a source of life, power, energy, light, warmth. It was what made their crops grow each season. So it was no surprise that the cult of Ra was widespread. Ra was the ruler of the heavens. He was the god of the sun, the one who brought life. He was honored by the pharaohs. The legend has it, their legend, the sun travels the skies as Ra drives his chariot through the heavens. That reminds you of anybody here? The sun travels through the skies and Ra drives his chariot through the heavens. So the sun god is driving his chariot in there. Again, I say, although he was only associated with the midday sun, as time went by, they connected him to the sun's presence all day long. So forget the midday sun, the one who is there all the time. To the ancient Egyptian, Ra was the ruler of the heavens, the sun god. And he still is for many pagans today. He was the god of the sun, the one who brought life. And he always portrayed the soul, because he's always portrayed as a solar disk. Now, I want you to see the lies, the deception. You always see there's a halo. It ain't no halo, my dear brothers and sisters. It's nothing more than the sun represented there. All these statues, when you go in some church and you feel it's halo, it's the sun. It's a sun god. Sun they're worshiping. We have logos today, the sun. The sun plays a major part in it. Most of these big companies today, you see the sun is there. Again, it's a sun worship. It's worship unto Ra, the sun god. So he is portrayed with a solar disc above his head and often takes on the aspect of a falcon. You see this man with a falcon here? Maybe I might show you some of the images during the course of this we are doing. Because you need to know, we need to, because these things are so cleverly hidden. And based on your mindset, you will work out. Well, they create logos, pictures, and it's difficult to see certain things in there. You don't know what to call. So maybe during the season, we're going to look at some of the occultic signs, the Freemasons, the Illuminatis, where they have it. And it's on everything, you know. It's on our products, it's on your dollar, it's on, because they are declaring who they worship. And so when we are worshiping Ra, with the solar disc, now Ra is different from most Egyptian gods. Nearly all deities of Egypt are tied to the earth. Ra, however, is strictly a celestial god. It is from his position in the sky that he's able to watch over his independence. He's independent. And often unruly children on earth. Horus, another god, rules as Ra's proxy. Now we're going to look at some of these gods as we go ahead. Horus, Isis, Osiris, King Mars, Nimrod, Elite. By you, and what better time to do all of this than this time when we are. We always say that the church is weakest at Christmas time. You don't have to look around to see that. Christmas time, the attendance in most churches drop till Christmas Day. And so, and that's the born again church. Born again church, you look for Christmas. That is in the traditional church. People are running up and down looking for things that they don't need. Because they don't see it as a pagan festival. They don't see it as the world drawing from them all their energies. They're tired. They're going to sing two every morning. Christmas Day, they can't get up, they sleep because they wake up to the birthdays. Right? Everybody wants everything for this time of year. Every single person is busy. Every business, every tradesman, from the funeral home to all the way up. They want their body buried before Christmas. Huh? So it's pressure on everybody. At the end of Christmas, the doctors now they are waiting. The chiropractor are waiting. People overstretch. Chiropractor and the doctor, they spray here, they break here, they twist here, they climb a ladder. Huh? So it's pressure on everybody. At the end of Christmas, it will go. The people of Egypt, as we said, the sun was the source of life, power, energy, light, and warmth. And the worship of Ra made their crops grow each season that they felt so. So they had immense power. The pharaohs themselves were seen as incarnation of Ra, the God. And some of them saw themselves as an incarnation. They came back. Ra came back to them, which gave them absolute power. And many of the kings built temples or pyramids because keeping Ra happy virtually guaranteed a long and prosperous reign as Pharaoh. So if you please Ra, he will give you happiness and keep you serving him longer as a king. So they built pyramids. You wonder why those pyramids are happiness and give you, but the pharaohs, because the gods gave them powers. Just of today, we have many leaders who, for them to stay in power long, to have guaranteed power for long and prosperous reign as a prime minister, as president, king, whatever, they worship their gods. They are empowered by their gods. They have to give something back to their gods, a sacrifice. They have to give some blood. They have to give something for him. So when the Roman Empire embraced Christianity, the residents of Egypt rather abruptly abandoned their old gods of Egypt because of Ra vanished from their history books. But today they still honor him. Maybe a different name. They still honor Ra as the supreme God of this time. Now, ISIS, not the war fraction that you give up, was a god, and ISIS is often portrayed with a wing spread out. Isis was the lover of Osiris. After his death, she used her magic to resurrect him as a living. She's honored in her role as the mother of Horus, one of the Egyptian most powerful gods. Remember we talk about Horus. I just mentioned it up front. She was also the divine mother of every pharaoh of Egypt. And after that, Egypt itself. What does the Bible say about Osiris? Why am I going on here? These are wrong people, right? I want to give as much evidence and as much knowledge as possible. Because there are two key figures in the original Christmas. Nimrod is one. Nimrod was the grandson of Noah. remember mentioned him up front, like he was a mighty hunter. His mother, I went to see the eagle, and Nimrod was the grandson of Noah. So he came from nice stuff, right? Might always give rebel against God and other God. And said, God said, go populate the earth. Right now, you want to go up. So the great grandson of Noah, his mother and wife, the same person. His mother was his wife, and his wife was his mother. Semiramis, also known as Ishtar, where we get our Easter. So that's the next story. Also known as Ishtar and Isis. So they have a different name, different country, different people. Different name, different country, different act goes under that name as well. Largely different. So Nimrod, known in Egypt as Osiris, was the founder of the first world empire, who built the empire bigger, later known as Babylon. And known as Babylon. Get known to all these gods, how they come from gods, how they honor them, and how they believe. It's some stories that doesn't add up. But the Egyptians considered Isis a more us to be the perfect mother and child. But when you look at the mother and child image, you always see the son over there. Function most nobly as the god of kingship, healing, protection, the sun and the sky. He was worshipped from at least the late prehistoric Egypt. Now, Horus are recorded in history, and these are treated as different gods. Horus is a god that still stands today, and he's pictured mostly right? And I believe because, again, we will go into that right now. So the different forms are different manifestation of the same multi-layered God or deity, in which attributes, relationship, and emphasize not necessarily in opposition, but complement to one another. So, and we're going to look at those things as the people are gods that we have ruling, and they play an important part in our Christmas celebration. They are there looking as if they are not. They are in ignorance. They are kept alive by the church because we do our worship and people don't know. And when you give first to them, you are empowering them. These demons are high with this, as the church has brought in Christmas, and probably again look at different aspects of it, the things we use and how things came and why we do all what we do. Everything has a part in the occult. The Christmas tree is one, because the solid celebration, the pagans culture decorated their homes with greens in anticipation of the spring to come. Right? Evergreen tree remained green during the cold. We don't have evergreen tree. So they were thought to hold special powers, because when everything dried up, when everybody leaves fell, the evergreen tree stayed evergreen. Now I call it evergreen. It was during the coldest time of year, winter, the darkest time, and yet this tree looking at nothing touching the dark in their God. You understand me? So they were taught to hold special powers. So this tree has special powers. They could withstand the cold and dark. They defy the sun. The Romans also decorated their temples with fir tree during this time, and decorated them with bits of metal. The Christmas decoration. There are even records of the Greek decorating trees in honor of their gods. Interestingly, the first tree brought into the pagan homes were hung from the ceiling up. So the first tree, when tree were brought into the house, they hung it upside down. The tree tradition we are accustomed to today hails from the northern Europe, where the Germanic pagan tribes decorated evergreen tree in worship of the god. So they worship this evergreen tree, the worship of their god wooden, it's a good tree, so it was wooden, with candles, didn't have electricity, right? So with candles and dried fruits. Today we have electric bulbs and pine and apple and all kinds of trees. The tradition was incorporated into the Christian faith in Germany during the 1500s. They decorated trees in their homes with sweets, lights, and toys. Jeremiah 10 says, the prophet Jeremiah is saying, Jeremiah, hey, the word which the Lord speaks unto you. Lord, look not the sign of heaven, for the heathens are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain. For one go and cut a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman, and with the axe. They deck it or decorate it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. They must need be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. So in other words, this Christmas tree, what we call today, if people went now, they still go and cut down trees. All in the States, Canada, it's a big thing. They go, they cut a tree, they bring it inside, or they buy it, and they decorate it with silver and gold. Now, this is in the Bible thousands of years ago. Still today, we nail it, we fasten it. Now we don't nail and fasten that nice stand, now you can put it on. keep it in place. But it was a God, and he's saying, oh, the worship, this thing is a tree that they went on cut down. They cut it with an axe. They get workmen to do that. They bring it in for you. You have to decorate it, and you worship it. You feel that will give you life? You feel that will do anything good to you? He said, can't even move. Call up the dog. The Bible really told us for foolishness. You think I'm hammer and it's a but it move not. They are upright. The tree one spot. Upright as the palm tree. It's big to carry them because they cannot go. You know, it's like you have a false God, and you see people moving around with their God, they drive it around, they carry it, they fasten it, they put it in the yard, whatever. It can't talk, it can't move, it's dumb. He said, be not afraid of them. Believers, don't be afraid of these dumb things, of these other gods. They can't do evil against the true children of God. They are evil. The demons are evil. But they also can't do good. It will do no good to you. So we have to know where we are going, what we are doing, who we are worshiping, and why is all this into the Christmas story. What does it have to do with Christ? You ever wonder? Jesus Christ is born, as they say. Why does a Christmas tree come in? Why do we light up all these pine trees, tree, anything that could take light, we put it up, we light. It looks nice, I'm not saying it doesn't look nice. Lights always good. Why can't we throw up some light any time of the year? People find it dysfunctional, not so? Try lighting up a tree, any tree. Carnival time, Easter time, in the middle of first of April, middle of May, June, July. You find you mad. You're mad if you light it up Christmas time. Because they tell us that it's time to light it. Today we have communion. And while it's served, I'll just conclude here. Okay? So I want us to, now you can do your own research, probably go on the internet, look up who was Nimrod. We will look at him. Look up who was Tiamat. Look up the gods. Look up what they do, who they are. And let's see some of the Christmas traditions that we do, that we kill ourselves behind doing. It's the time people are most depressed, most offended. It's a time when separation takes place in the home sometimes. Great anger, remorse. Let's see how we celebrate in ignorance. But I want to say, let's keep our eyes focused and fixed on Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of our faith, the one who could never fail us. Amen? Everybody says?